and welcome to this week's session. And this week we have an interesting topic: MBA in India versus MBA abroad. We'll discuss that with the alums and the admissions team. Before that, my name is Amit Tyagi. I'm the Associate Director for Admissions at Indian School of Business. With me is my colleague Arun Prakash. He's part of the admissions team and PGP admissions team. And we have with us two alums who will talk about their experiences of why they choose to stay back in India and stay at ISB, and a lot more about other aspects of their ISB journey, pre-ISB journey. And then after a brief discussion, we'll have an open floor where you can raise your hands, ask your questions. We'll be happy to unmute you, and you can then ask your questions directly to us or the alums. So with that, Sushmita and Abhinav, welcome you to this session. Thanks for taking time out from your busy schedules. I know, Abhinav, you're now traveling. Sushmita, I'm sure you also have for a lot of other commitments to be part of this sessions. So over to you guys. Please introduce yourself first, and then we'll start the session. Sushmita, why don't you start?
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Susmita. It was a restaurant. An engineer, and I have worked as a scientist for 4 years in ISRO, post which I pursued MBA from ISB 2022 batch. It's been almost 1.5 years since I've graduated from ISB, and currently I'm working as a consultant at India Consulting.
Thanks, Sushmita. Abhinav, how about you?
Yeah, so sorry, first of all, for being in the car. I'm Abhinav from the batch of 23. I was about to go to, since the topic is international MBAs, I was about to leave for Wharton the previous year, but chose to be at ISB because ISB is great. And and post ISB, I'm working as a marketer with Hindustan Unilever and doing a lot of projects with ISB as well. So
Right, great. So let's dive, into the discussion of the topic at today's that we have today, MBA in India versus MBA abroad. So my question to both the panelists today is, what is something which a candidate who is looking at doing an MBA right now, what are the criteria he should look at while deciding whether he should go abroad or whether he should go study in India? What would you advise them in terms of planning for the decision or what they should consider? So Abhinav, can we go with you first?
yeah, so I love that question because it's very important and everybody needs to know this. As of right now in the US, there are petitions running against removing MBA as being a STEM course. And once that is removed, we'll only be getting a 1 year visa to work instead of three. So, and typically an American MBA would cost anywhere between 2 to 3 crores with all the other expenses, etc. Even on the lower side, if you're doing it not from the best school, it's about 1.5 crores. Schools in the US will not have anything in terms of getting you a job and placements. And the third thing and the most important is that as of right now, there's a 16-year gap between right now and the time when one can get a green card in the US. Till the time you do not get the green card, you are typically a tier two citizen. So if you want to dedicate prime of your youth in being a tier two citizen in another country, then might as well go to the US. Otherwise, India is going to go grow, shine, and for that, ISB is the best place to be.
Very good points made there about uh, India about going to grow and shine the coming years, and we see the signs already. And Sushmita, what is your thought? What are your advice to the candidates?
Well, whatever points Abhinav has mentioned hold true. And yes, firstly, I would say before coming to decision of whether it's India or abroad, one should be really very clear about why they want to see, like, go for MBA, and then be clear about their goals, why and how MBA is going to add value to them. Then at least they can start and set a way to evaluate in India if you want to do in whatever college that you want to go for, how it's going to help, and in US how it's going to help, because it's really important to consider personal factors. Firstly, if you go with whether it's going to help you professionally and also personally grow, And all these factors are if they are aligned with your objectives, where you see yourself from now in career. See, in that also you have to consider a lot of folks who come to MBA, they come to either pivot in their career or maybe grow into some executive roles. So there are people, for instance, I can take my own case as an example. I come from a pure core tech background, and after MBA, I went into consulting, which is like a transition. But then those transitions have to be realistic. Someone with non-finance background cannot hope to become an investment banker just because you got an MBA degree. Or it will be really hard to grow certain skill sets when you are considering such options. So you have to be really very clear about what you want and then decide how the goals are aligned with the schools that you want to consider. And secondly, it is ROI. Whatever you're spending on MBA, it's no small work or effort, be it in energy or be it in time or money. So you need to really evaluate whether these investments, whatever you're making right now, are not just for 1, 2 years. Because your career is going to set a path for your career, which you have to think always in long term. Do not ever think in short term, like next 2 years, I'm going to become this, next 5 years. I prefer, or I would suggest to at least think 5 to 10 years down the lane, how you want your life to be in general, and if these goals fit and whatever life to get after it. And third, market forces. This is really important because 2 years ago, if you would have been thinking whether you want to do in India or abroad, the factors you would have considered would have been very different from now. And very rightly mentioned, the placement support in foreign B schools is not like how it's going to be in ISB. When we delve into that question, maybe more specifically, you will understand. It's all about how much efforts we put, how much network we have, and what pedigree we carry with us in our previous background. So it's very hard in the market forces like now, not knowing when the market is going to come back to normal stage. So these three factors one should consider and then start making decisions doing their own research.
I think very, very valid points there. The ROI part, and talk about the placements, different kind of placements there, and the carry transitions in the pivot. So, which leads me to a side question regarding your profile. So, you were a scientist in the ISRO and from a technical field. What made you, think about transitioning to a business side, and why did you choose ISB as such for the transition to the business side of things?
Well, yeah. So I was, yes, into pure technical role and I really loved being part of it. But at one point of time, I got a realization about myself that I really loved solving problems. And yes, as I expanded more and my exposure increased during COVID time, I realized it need not be confined to only the technology domain or particularly my electronics engineering, whatever I have graduated from. So I found this exciting and I wanted to really become an entrepreneur in future. So I thought MBA would help me to get certain skill set, what is required for me to grow in the long term and also network. So again, when considering MBA, it's not just about placements because there are a lot of factors. And holistically, if I look at placement is only one aspect of it, which is really important, but then not the only aspect. So you get
Hmm.
network, you get learning, you get connections. So all these are important. That is one reason I wanted to pursue MBA first. And secondly, why ISB? I was very clear that I wanted to do it in India for very clear reasons why I wanted to stay back in India. That's why I never chose any foreign based school. And in India, I wanted to go with ISB because it's the best. And after doing research on faculty or network or diversity, your peer group is really good. You get a lot of exposure even after joining ISB. After I've got to learn a lot of things from peers. So that's the reason I came into ISB. And then I wanted to get into business roles initially, which gives me more exposure to corporate world. And because I didn't have any exposure, and consulting
Hmm.
is the one which gives that exposure. So I came into consulting. And it's really important to have at least certain points clear before you take up this journey. Why and where I want to go at least post MBA, and is that realistic,
Hmm.
that transition?
Great. I mean, so again, clarity of thought, as you mentioned, is very important before you take up the question itself of why MBA or why ISB. So that's something which that's the takeaway for the candidates here. Abhinav, moving on to you. You already had a offer, as you mentioned, from Wharton, or you were all set to go to Wharton and you chose ISB. So what will you say about the ROI aspects of working studying in a B school abroad, like let's say Wharton or versus ISB? Because I'm sure you must have done the analysis. You must have given it a
Yeah.
thought. What will share with candidates on that front?
So, as I told you about the costs that were there associated with going to Wharton and living in Philadelphia, uh, if I look at what I paid to ISB, I have been able to pay almost 90% of my loan in about 8.5, 9 months. Of
Wow.
course, that's a very, very fast pace, but typically in about 2.5 years, you can easily pay off your loans. If you are if you're a bachelor, and if you have
Mhm.
to manage a family, then 3 to 4 years. And this is something which is unheard of in the American MBAs. Even in the US, people spend about an average of 7 years to pay back their MBA
Mhm.
loans. That's number one. Number two is while I was looking at the people that I really like, so Michael Porter or
Mhm.
somebody like Deepak C. Jain, etc. These were the marketing and strategy people that I wanted to study from. And now that I've realized that they are quite old and they are not teaching themselves, I realized it's their pupils who are teaching in Wharton as well as at ISB. So, say Professor Siddharth Shekhar Singh, who's studied from Deepak Jain and done his PhD with him, or say somebody like Professor Kathuria, who brings in a lot of digital strategy. So these guys, when I read about them, and then I met them also pre-ISB through some other connects. I realized that these guys
Mhm.
understand the world economics and they also understand the Indian dynamics. So they are the best people to
Mhm.
learn from because in both cases it's a win-win situation. They give me the best of both worlds, and that's why I chose ISB. And I mean, for me, and I'm very vocal about this on LinkedIn as well. This has been one of the best decisions of my life. I've put my younger brother on the same track. Will be joining this year. So
Great.
for us, ISB is the one-stop solution for all problems of business.
Great. And I'm so glad that you brought up the faculty aspects of, comparison between two programs. Of course, there are great faculties in these schools in the West, but now, a lot of their pupils or people who have learned from them are coming back to India and are part of, cohorts across, or part of faculty cohorts across Mohali and Hyderabad. But what would you say in terms of, the visiting faculty at ISB? Does that help or bring in the global perspective? And what is your experience of the visiting faculty at ISB? How does that help, bridge the gap between global schools and Indian School of Business?
So there's this professor called Dr. Mr. Nandu Nandkishore. He happened to be the CEO of Nestle before this, and this was not Nestle India. This was a CEO who's Nestle Global CEO. And when a person like that comes in and tells you CEO's perspective and tells you how you need to tackle situations, it is it is immense. And also these guys are while this guy is an Indian, he's handled the company at an international level, so he will give you both the perspectives. And he just did not give perspective around business. He gave a very holistic stuff about how to manage family, how to manage your work, how to grow holistically, spiritually. And it was such a big learning because stuff like that is that it's not all about the Western thought. In today's time, it's about the correct amalgamation of taking some thought from there and mixing it with the Indian thought and then progressing in business. So that was one guy who I really kind of always admire and think about. Another professor called Mr. Ashish Kohli, who comes in and teaches real estate finance. He's one of the largest property guy in New York, has over 100 apartments and doing so well for himself, is also teaching us how we can do well in these businesses around real estate and other investments, which is more of a personal finance thing. So those are the aspects which really, really kind of create a difference at ISB for me, because of course every other B school in the country is also teaching strategy and all these things, but these few guys at ISB just make it take it to a different level altogether.
Right, great. I mean, great insights there about the faculty. Sushmita, what about your experience of the faculty model at ISB? What will share any experiences, any insights into that for the candidates?
Yeah, so I have observed two things at ISB. Firstly, yes, we have faculties coming from foreign B schools as well who give us foreign global perspective. And yeah, the same professor which Bhavya has mentioned, even I remember this professor who is an investment banker as well as into real estate. I have taken one of his finance courses. So he gave us really the work out there or the global perspective, how the life is going to be there even in US, and how he also gave us, I mean, he took us through the life at ISB and like post ISB or post B school in US, how it's not going to be really that different and why and how ISB is also on par and also sometimes exceeds a lot of Ivy League schools globally. And secondly, one more observation is these days there are a lot of Indian case studies as well which are coming up. And if you do really in a foreign B school, you might miss out on these case studies because now a lot of brands or businesses which are growing up, which have been startups 5 years ago, even they're becoming case studies. So if we are in India, I think the professors in ISB are also encouraging discussions on these real-time topics, not just studying about cases which happened years ago, which are important. But then if we see, like, it's never the same. 20, 30 years ago, whatever companies that were topping in the NSE stock list or whatever, they're not topping anymore. So it's important to be on par with market forces and market trends. And India, if you really plan to go abroad or if you want to come back to India sometime later, these are really important to consider to stay in touch with Indian market and local forces because wherever you settle, the forces are different. In this way, the faculty not much difference. And also, I have seen one more observation was not an observation, but my brother did MBA from foreign based school. He went to Cornell. So I know the kind of difference when we see the discussions like what he was taught in strategy or finance or marketing and what I was taught here. When we discuss that, I don't see any difference. And even if I see the case studies or how it was, yeah, ISB is nothing less to how it is at foreign based school. And in a way, it's also more structured. It's very student friendly B school, I would say, where you get almost pampered from the school. You get full support in whatever way that you want, be it placements or be it skill set, in any way possible when compared to foreign based school. There are different factors that you have to consider. That's why when you're going for foreign based school, where we stand, and if you want to really go to Indian B school and grow here, then I would suggest it's ISB.
Great, great. So, we learned from the faculty about the faculty perspective from both you and Abhinav. But what about the student perspective? You know, people feel that foreign B schools tend to be much more diverse, maybe in terms of uh, people from different nationalities or countries and thought process. What about students at ISB? What is your take on that in terms of diversity in the classrooms at ISB?
Um, okay, I would take this
Hmm.
first. Coming to the diversity, I would say it's pretty much diverse. Diversity, it holds true to its meaning when we say it. It's not just for statistics and numbers. You have people coming with various experiences, and you name it, you will have someone in the class who has done it. Be it a startup, be it a family business, or be it a tech engineer, doctor, navy, army. I think I've seen almost every one of them in my own batch, in my section as well. There are people coming from different backgrounds. So when there is this case discussion going on, which is important part of their school, you get a lot of perspectives from various
Mhm.
students because people come with experience and they relate to this to the experience they had and how the corporate life is going to be. So the case discussion does not look like it's just a thing on paper and you're discussing it theoretically because you're talking about real experiences. In this way, diversity adds a very good value. And also when you network with your own peers, when you make friends, you get to learn a lot. Your perspectives are always challenged because
Mhm.
we get to hear from different people coming with different backgrounds. So there is not only one way to approach a problem, and you will get to learn there are multiple ways to approach a problem, and you can choose the best one. This is really a very insightful realization you would get when you come to B school.
True, true. And in fact, at the admission team also, we look at actively, getting a diverse cohort for the classes. So this year we have almost 41% women in the class, 51% non-engineers in the class, and people from with 2 to 24 years of work experience in the classroom. As you mentioned, people from different walks of life. There are people who are from the armed forces, people who are CAs, people who are from the arts, sciences, pharmacy, and you name it. Abhinav, what is your take on this particular aspect? Okay.
I've been I've been working very closely with the alums for some work, and in this process, I met the previous week a gentleman called Kulmeet Bawa, who happens to be the CEO of SAP India. He
Hmm.
joined the MBA at 32 from the army, and he was a guy who was on the track to become the general.
Hmm.
And regardless of all that, he chose to come to ISB, and right now he's just killing it out there. That's on the older Alan side. Even within my own class, I had a gentleman called Ajay Jairam, who happened to be world ranked 13 badminton, and
Yes.
he happened to come here, and he's when placements were happening, all the three major consulting firms were chasing him and running for getting him, and they were bidding for him actually. So that's the level of people you get in at ISB, and when you kind of talk to them and you meet them, you realize there's so much to learn beyond what you are taught in a typical engineering college before this. And why I'm taking engineering as an example is because typically in a B school, you would find about 80% engineers in good B schools in India, whereas the number is much lesser in ISB because ISB is very, very diverse. We've had people who had studied English literature. I had studied something like liberal art, followed by the
Got muted.
Think we lost him.
Yeah.
No, you got muted. Okay, anyways. So we'll, yeah, go ahead, Abhinav.
I'm so sorry. I was saying that the kind of people I have had sports persons,
Hmm.
musicians, apart from the engineers, of course, you have the top IIT guys coming in, and one of my SG mate was a gold medalist from the IIT and all. But when I worked with him and when I worked with the person who's a sports person, I realized that the life is so much beyond what is obvious. I mean, there are so many other aspects that you learn from people, and that's the reason. I mean, when you look at the older alums, somebody like Kulmeet Bawa is slaying in life because he understands human aspects much better than somebody from an engineering background. So that's what you learn from people at ISB and the alum. And why I'm talking about the alum so much, because the alums are always available, always ready to help, and this is something which is unheard of even in the international B schools, especially towards the Indian community. You are good, strong amongst the Indian alums, but not with the whole alum community. Whereas at ISB, everybody in the alum community will come back to help you in whatever way that's possible.
Some great points you made there, and also about the alum community where they are now, how they progress in life, and that leads me to the next question, which is on not just placements, I would say, but also the career prospects at ISB. Because placements is just one part of your career prospects; it's a single year thing. And what I hear from a lot of students and alum is that within 2 years, people change at their job at least once or twice after graduating from ISB. So it's not about placements, but more about the career prospects. So what is your take on how ISB will has till now, or will enable you to, although you have answered a lot of it in your earlier answers, but maybe for the benefit of the audience, on the placement side, the career side, how has ISB opened new doors, opportunities for you, Abhinav?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I was an architect, but always into marketing, and I work for the mecca of marketing now. So that is what ISB did to me, which is
Wow.
Unilever. And apart from me, when I was on campus, met some of these guys who were unicorn owners like Piyush Shah and Akash Chaudhary, etc. And you realize that a lot of them also came in from very simple backgrounds, but the learnings from ISB opened so much intellectually that they were able to think so much larger than life that they could create these entities. And I'm not saying they would have not without ISB, but ISB played a pivotal role in doing that.
True. Sunita, you talked about, elevating more on the placements part of it in your first answer. What are your thoughts on the placements at ISB
The
or the career
placements are
opportunities?
amazing, and typically, typically on an average, everybody has at least two offers, and
Yeah.
these are very diverse offers. So, talking about my own self more than the alum now, I had two FMCG offers. One offer in consulting, one in a startup, and one in a finance space. And I am somebody who's an architect who comes from something which is totally unrelated to all five of them. And
Right.
that's what ISB did. In the first 6 7 months itself, it taught me more than what I had learned in my life of 27 years before that, and made me good enough to kind of crack all these top giants in all these spaces. And that is the power that ISB has in terms of the placement. Also, another very interesting thing that I realized is that people who are very finicky and who are very picky about what kind of job they want to do sometimes did not pick up offers early on, but ISB still went over and beyond after school for 2 3 months to get people placed into these organizations or roles that people wanted to, which was something which is very special. I mean, no other school would actually be doing things like this because there's not much of a fraternity feeling out there. But ISB, with that fraternity feeling, keeps helping you for many, many more months. Many, in fact, even beyond placements right now, I have had offers coming in from alums to work with them,
Wow.
which is again so good. I mean, that's beyond the placement aspect.
Hmm. Great. Sunita, your take?
Well, so coming to my experience, I would say because I came from a background where I didn't have much corporate exposure because immediately post my undergrad, I went into directly working in ISRO. So I would really say the clubs or the culture at ISP is really good, which is the really important step for the placements. So you have various clubs regarding consulting, product, or marketing. So even if someone comes with no knowledge on how these roles are going to be, we get very good support from these clubs, which are run by students itself, and you get very good understanding of how they're going to be there, and your preparation is all set. Like we don't have to worry about or have be get anxious how it's going to be there, how I'll get to know all these things. Do I really have to talk to so many people to understand what it is like to be if I want to get to certain role? Because there is a lot of support and there are a lot of even before placement, the committee, the CAS or admissions team, the placement cell will help in getting alums to give us a picture of how the job is going to be there and how the roles out there are in real time. There is also an option to shadow a person where if you want to work in certain place, certain company, you can go and actually be in that for one day and see what a day like that looks. So this is all part of the placements. It's not just on the day where you get to placements. They do a lot of work even before we reach there that we are all set to crack the roles that we want to. And second, yes, career transition. I wouldn't say it's possible 100%, but then I say be realistic. Like whatever you want to transition, it's definitely possible to transition if you have the right skill set that is needed for the job. It's not just that ISB alone will make you transition into a role just like that, but it will open gateways to various roles that you could possibly get into. But then we need to have that skill set which is required. Again, whatever is needed for that, you will get answers to that in ISP. If I want to get into certain role, what skills do I need to acquire? You don't have to do or talk to lots of people or worry about it, which is really a good thing because knowing what I need to have to go to a certain place is really important first. Then you can figure out if I can go there or if I want to go somewhere else. This is how you choose which firm you want to get into, acquire those skill sets while you are at ISB because that's the right place and a great place to get that. Then you can transition into whatever career you want to go. And yes, even without any experience, I have seen myself and also my lot of my friends and my batchmates who are from tech and non-tech background. They got into consulting, they got into product roles without prior product experience. It's not that only a previous product manager will get into product roles or someone who is previously a marketer gets into marketing. It all depends on the kind of skills that you have. There are people who also got into finance roles, which are like not easy if you come with no finance background. But then if someone really puts in efforts and get the skill set, you can transition into those roles. And here, at this point, because got an opportunity, I want to make a difference between how it's going to be in foreign-based school. Firstly, in foreign-based schools, the age is very important factor. If you must have even done a like a reasonable research, you would know that average age group in foreign-based schools is quite high. People usually come in 30s or when they are in managerial or executive position already. So very few people get an opportunity to go while they're in 26, 27 or 28 with 3, 4 years experience. But in ISB, it's 2 years to whatever, 48. Also, there are people more than that. But your average age group here is 3 to 4 years of experience, which is a very good pool. And this is the first hindrance for foreign B schools. It's not an easy gateway first to get there. So once you get into top B schools or Ivy Leagues even in foreign, they see for relevant work ex some non-localite coming to foreign-based school, and then if you want to really pivot into some role which you have never done before, it's going to be very challenging, which is unlike in India when you come to ISB, which you can do easily if you really want to make some career transition or career switch.
I think very valid points there, especially in terms of the transition part and the comparison between foreign B schools and Indian B schools placement process, stark difference. But in terms of transitions at ISB, almost two-thirds of the cohort every year has either a functional or has both a functional and industry transition. And 80% each have a functional or industry transition. So that way, I think the placement process is very well geared towards giving people a pivot in their careers. So thanks, Sushmita and Abhinav. We will now move on to the section where we will have questions from the audience. We'll open the floor for the audience. Audience, please raise your hands and we'll unmute you to ask questions to us, Abhinav or Sushmita, and feel free to then go ahead and ask your questions. Please raise your hands. Pranay has raised his hands. Pranay, go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Pranay, you're audible.
Yeah. So basically, I'm doing my bachelor's in economics and like also an extra course of financial risk management. So like I would like to ask like what would be the correct approach to get into ISB when I've like completely decided that yes, this is where I want to get in. And like could you please provide some insight on these?
So you're doing a bachelor's in finance and
No, I'm doing bachelor's in economics,
economics.
BSc economics. Yes.
Okay, and you
But
want to, okay, fine. And could you please repeat the question again, please, if
so
possible?
I'm doing BSc economics and along with that an extra course of financial risk management.
Right.
So I want to pursue MBA. So and I'm completely decided that I want to pursue it from ISB Hyderabad. So like what should be my approach towards it and how should I, like clear all those barriers and stuff so that I get into ISB?
Sure, I'll let the alums answer that. But before that, I'll just let you know that there is nothing called ISB Hyderabad here. It's Indian School of Business. So we follow a
Yeah.
philosophy called one school, two campuses. And you don't apply to ISB Hyderabad or ISB Mohali, you apply to ISB. Even companies who come to recruit, they come to recruit from ISB. There's no separate placements or admissions for the two campuses. So you'll be applying to ISB and giving your preferred campuses Hyderabad or Mohali. Right, now coming to a question
Okay.
on that you I have a particular background, BSc Economics. How do you go about planning for your ISB application? Sushmita, would you want to share some insights on how we can go about building his profile? I'm assuming he's going to apply in R1 next year. So he has a good 6, 7 months. What can he do in those 6, 7 months to plan for ISB application?
I believe you're still studying, and if you're planning to pursue MBA from ISB, there are two options right in front of you now. Either be a YLP, where you get an offer right while you are in college and you will join after 2 years of work experience, no matter what, or you wait to get work experience and then choose to come to ISB. And how you decide about this? You have to consider what is given more importance when you apply now and what factors are given more importance in your application when you apply after 2 years or with any years of experience. So I believe you must have already known these factors when you can apply to ISB. What
Yeah.
are the minimum criteria? And now, if you choose to be an YLP, the kind of factors that should be given importance in your application are way different from with work experience. Because right now, if you want to apply right now, you will not have any work experience. So how will you stand out from peers who are competing with similar background like you? That is how you have to start thinking first. You will not be competing with the whole pool or who are applying to ISB. You will be competing mostly with your kind of candidates who are applying as YLKs. In that case, your scores really matter well. Either you take GMAT or GRE and really perform very well on those. And then you should be academically doing great. Your scores in academy also matters. And apart from this, what are your extracurriculars that you are pursuing? These will have lot of importance or weightage if you choose to apply now. In if you have to show your leadership skills in whatever way possible at this point of stage. But if you choose to apply after 2 years, if you really want to work for some years and then apply for ISB, then you would have to focus on other factors. What impact you created in your work experience would matter. And also leadership skills, of course, they do matter in both the scenarios. And also stakeholder management, because which is really important for B school. You can keep these factors in mind and see at what time is right time for you to apply, knowing your relevant skill sets.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. So, Ishita, go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much for holding this. It's giving me a lot of perspective. My question is more towards Abhinav because, as you mentioned, you were looking into Wharton before going to ISB. So I just wanted to understand, like looking at B schools abroad, I think the major things that attract people would be the number of electives they have, the flexibility in the curriculum, or the amount of exposure that they get. I've heard CEOs flying in and, explaining the case studies. The person that the case study is based on, the exact person is coming in and explaining their perspective. So things like that. Um, Now, comparing these things to ISB, what was your evaluation? And I don't know, maybe some things you found better in ISB, because these are the major factors I think which differentiate rather than just pure academics.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And typically, what happens in those M7 schools in the US is exactly what happens out here at ISB as well. There are protagonists from from the McKinseys of the world coming into the classroom to teach. There are protagonists from the Coca-Colas of the world coming in to teach into the classroom, and that's a typical pedagogy of ISB, which is very similar to the American B schools. Apart from that, one personal experience that I had is that while studying at ISB the previous year, I was given the chance to work on this new project of the Indian government called ONDC, wherein I was working on creating policies on how to democratize e-commerce in the country, and that's something which is, of course, things like this happen in the M7 schools as well, but things like this definitely happen in India too. So, and ISB is the place where at least I could go through all these transformative experiences. And so it's much the same with some additional things, as Sushmita said, that you have a lot of Indian cases, you have both Indian and international leaders coming in and flying into each, which gives you a wider perspective as an Indian native. So that's why I personally chose ISB over a Wharton in on the pedagogy side.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So, I hope that answered the question, Ishita. Uh, Vibha, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you for the session so far. So my question is that I already have 6 years of experience in software development. So I'm working as a software engineer. So one thing that I wanted to know is that how, because there would be a lot of competition with respect to it, how would I uh, uh, elevate my profile or just try to highlight my profile? In what ways that could help me in getting, because I'm clear that I want to join ISB pretty soon. I would apply for the next year. I want to pivot into executive roles. So I feel ISB would help me in getting there. And the other thing is that how would it impact in placements? Because I'm soon because of the age experience that I have, and all the other applicants who are coming in for 3 years and 4 years experience.
Sushmita, want to take that because you had 4 years, I think, when you came into ISB, right?
Yes. So I was seeing your I would take your last question first because it's 6 year experience and you're worrying if it is how it's going to be with someone who has lesser experience. This is not at all a problem at ISB. I think one need not worry about whether they have 3 years, 4 years, or 6 to 10 years experience, whatever it is. Because I can say from my own batch, my own alums from my college, like engineering college, who were alums to me and my seniors in ISRO as well. I came with 4 years experience. Next, in my same batch, I had my alum who had 6 years experience in ISRO. And next year, I have an alum now who came with 7 years experience. So every batch, I have had people coming with, in my friend circle alone, 4 to 6 to 7 years experience. And also someone who comes with software development. There are lots of engineers who come with this experience. So that's not to worry about. Secondly, yes, definitely that's a fact, more or less, that a lot of people or engineers who apply for MBA, and there is going to be competition. So how do we stand out when there are a lot of folks applying? There are certain things which we cannot change, which is like our academic performance, how it has been already. So we need to consider certain peaks which are important for application. One is academic performance and our GMAT GRE scores. They are important, but they're not the only defining factors. So it's important to consider there are various factors playing a role in application. And third, your experience, because you come with really 5 to 6 years of experience, your experience gets a lot of weightage. What you did and what you are as a candidate, your personality. And if you must have seen the essays this year, which were inspired from best practices, have changed, not just focused on career, which is one direction. It is focusing on a person as whole, which I really like the way they were put now. As a personality, they're trying to understand what a person is like with various other aspects that you're bringing in. So in this way, if you see, there is a lot that you can bring to the table and add value. So one more suggestion I would give is if someone who wants to transition into certain role and come to MBA to acquire certain skills, you better thinking what it is that you want to get into, which role and what skill set are required for that. And now wherever you are, there will definitely be certain skills which can be transferable to get into that role. So if you show this line of thinking, and also as a B school student, if you really want to get into a B school, what does the school look for in candidates? They just don't look for numbers or grades all the time. They look for they look for a lot of things. Like as a personality, I mentioned, how you think and how you have been already, and what kind of impact you created in your work, and how you're showcasing it. Because it's really important how you present yourself as well. You must have done a lot, but then how you present. So they see all these factors because they're really important as you become an executive in future. And if you can show, like you have to be the best storyteller of your life, of who you are, then I think it's really not that difficult.
Abhinav, do
Thank
you
you,
want to
sir.
add anything on that for people with more than 6 years of work experience? How do they approach the application process?
Oh, I think it does not matter at all. I have friends with more experience and they've all directly got into VP roles, etc. And as I mentioned, matlab, wherever I look at people who have had more experience, I always look at people like Kulmeet Bawa who came at 32 or Alok Agarwal who came at 36. And within no time, these guys became CEOs. So ISB is training ground for all those things as well if you come in a little late in life. And so more experience should not be a problem. It should actually be acting like a plus for you. And of course, things like the GMAT/GRE score that's a common ground for everybody to showcase that you have not lost touch and you are still as good as the young agile people who are maybe 24.
Thanks both Sushmita and Abhinav for that answer. PM, you can ask your question. Go ahead, PM. You are unmuted now.
Hi, both Susmita and Abhinav. My question for you is more to do
Before
with
that, if you
the
could let us know your name, so that
yeah.
all of us know who
Sure,
we are
my name
dealing
is Pallavi.
with.
Yeah, my question is more to do with Indian university and colleges. So ISB is one of the top colleges when it comes to MBA, right? Now, I would like to know your perspective as to how you chose ISB over maybe other elite colleges in India. What is it that ISB is doing differently and better than other colleges? I would like to know your perspective on that.
So, Pallavi, when you look at ISB, you're getting a lot of international faculty to teach you, number one. Number two, in the Indian B schools, the IIM Ahmedabad and Bangalore and Calcuttas of the world, sorry for naming them, have a policy of unlimited teaching hours for professors. Whereas at ISB, professors are given typically between 70 to 120 hours of teaching annually so that they have lesser time to teach, but what they teach is quality and beyond what is taught. So, I mean, typically, if I had to use a Hindi word, maybe the 2 year MBA programs running in India are a little thaka hua. People are very slow, old, boring professors going their conventional routes, whereas you find in ISB these new age tech savvy professors who are and they are research first professors, so they are researching on what is going to be the trend 10 years ahead of now. So if you study from people who are understanding what's going to happen 10 years from now, you are truly training to be the leader of tomorrow. And that's majorly the difference between the top 6 IIMs and ISB in India for me.
Sushmita, your thoughts?
Well, so going back maybe 2, 3 years ago, how did I choose ISB as I really wanted to do in India? I first did not, I wanted to, I had only two options in front of me, ISB or IIMs. I did not even consider about other B schools in India. I'm not even much aware of them. So comparing only these two, IIM, it's firstly the way you get into ISB and IIM are different. Exams that you have to take. And secondly, it's a 1 year course and 2 year course. And third, the cohort that you get in both these campuses. In IIMs, immediately post graduation, without any experience, you can get into it. And 60% of the cohort, mostly 60 to more than 60% of the cohort will be immediate graduates with no work experience. They come right after the graduation. In ISB, they come with a work experience. So the trade-off here is because I already come with an experience, whether I want to go for 1 year or 2 year. And after going through how the courses are going to be, what they're going to teach in ISB and IIM, I realized 1 year MBA is worth, like, it's a good thing to choose at this point of time when compared to 2 year MBA, because I also don't get any diversity in terms of classroom learning because not many people come with work ex. A lot of them are graduates and you might not be able to relate much to them. But one more option that you would want to consider is internship. While there is internship in IIM, there is a program which is similar to that, but we call it experiential learning program in ISB. You might not get 6 months of time, but yes, within whatever time period you get, that's also very great learning for someone to pick up if they really want to transition into some different area to showcase in the placement that you have skill set in that also. So if you consider these three factors, you will be able to arrive at a decision for yourself, which would be a better decision for you to make.
Great. Thanks, Abhinav and Smita. Let's move on to the next question. Enam, you can ask your question now.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So, giving my background, so I graduated from NMIMS, did my BCom honors from there, and then I moved to Bangalore. from there. And then I worked at a financial firm for 1 year. And then after that, I've joined my family business, and I've been involved in that since last 1 year or so. So my question with ISB was really there are two parts to my question. One, the business that I have joined, it is a sole proprietorship, not a registered company. So will that be a disadvantage for me? Secondly, for entrepreneurs, how ISB helps, because I'm not very much interested in the placements as such, but I'm more interested in the incubation and all of that aspects of it.
So I'll answer the first question, and I'll also ask the alums to share a bit about the entrepreneurial part of it. So for the first question, will being part of a sole proprietorship business be a disadvantage? No, as long as you know what you have done, you are able to talk about it. You can talk about the highs and lows of your entrepreneurial journey. I think it should be okay. The proofs should be the documentation could be a proof for being part of the journey that you can showcase. Regarding what we do for entrepreneurship, we have an specialization in entrepreneurship. We have two intuition centers, but I'll let Sushmita and Anubha talk about that. Sushmita, any insights into what entrepreneurs can do on campus in your batch, or where you taught any courses on entrepreneurship? Were you part of any projects from the incubation centers during your stay at ISB?
Well, there is a lot of support from ISB in entrepreneur aspect. While I personally did not do that, but yes, I've spoken to those cells which are actually there, which is D Labs and iVenture. It's a great program which it started in ISB I think it's during my batch itself. Where they support entrepreneurs either before the product market fit, they help with in whatever stage you are. If you come with an idea and you really want to first explore with PMF for your product, or if you have a product already and you want to scale it, whatever your business idea is, whatever stage you are, that is one. And there is also iWin, which is also self-help women entrepreneurs. And there are a lot of initiatives like this where they also have collaborations with other parties as well to explicitly support entrepreneurs. So if someone is really not keen on going for placements, then there is lot to experiment and explore and also support that you would get from ISB.
Great. Abhinav, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur before, and during the process, I was helping a friend of mine who was running a blockchain startup. He was able to raise about 50 lakh rupees from the incubation center at ISB itself. That's number one. I was working very closely with Professor Siddharth Singh and Professor Kathuria on getting insights on how we can grow this business that I was part of called Biryani by Kilo. And this was even beyond the scope of what the incubation cells do. They went over and beyond, and free of cost, they gave me so much of gyan about what kind of companies to acquire within the Biryani by Kilo portfolio, how we can get in more food experts, etc. And they just did not give gyan like a consulting firm. They also helped me find those connections, and they connected me to a celebrity chef who was a guy called who owns this company called Goila Butter Chicken. He was heading MasterChef Australia as a judge at a point in time, and that's the kind of connects that these senior professors have, and they help you in any way possible, and they treat you like family. Even till now, they treat us like family whenever we go for any advice on any matters related with entrepreneurship.
Great insights. Wasim, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Mr. Tyagi.
Hi.
Wasim Akram here. Could you shed some light on why the B schools abroad, comparable to ISB in Financial Times rankings,
Mm-hmm.
they seem to report a much higher average package than ISB?
So there's
Uh,
also a cost of living index, right? The salaries which will be paid in particular countries versus here. There's also a PPP, the cost of living index. So look at it in terms of the PPP index, and you'll find that they're more or less similar. In fact, ISB will be better off, I would say.
Okay, so let's just say I did an MBA abroad and I got a job in India. So that
Mhm.
would be comparable to the ISB's package of around.
It should be again, but that's what I'm saying, and then that's a point which I think we have been also trying to make in this info session that if you are going abroad, then you have kind of, you might want to stay back there and work for a couple of years to make the ROI count. And
Okay.
that's because of the currency differences. Because
Mhm.
if you're going to be paying 1.5 crore in tuition fees, and you come
Mhm.
back and expect are expected to get a salary which ISB graduates get, and which is what you will get, and sometimes even lesser, then your ROI will be totally wrong, off the charts, right?
Okay.
But if you're studying in India and if you're getting the kind of jobs that you get at ISB, then the ROI works out. So that distinction you have to be careful about. Don't go abroad to study just because you want to come back and start a job in India. That may not work out for most of you, but just because of the currency differences that are in play and the kind of tuition fees charged by B schools abroad. Any inputs on that, Abhinav or Sushmita?
Yeah, so because I was considering this American thing, I mean, I did all the math. Typically, you spend about $300,000 to do a top MBA in the US, and typically a good guy would get about $100,000 as salary back, which is one third of what you paid.
Hmm.
Whereas and this is I'm talking America dollar to dollar right now.
Mhm.
When you look at India, ISB, you paying anywhere between 35 to 40 lakhs to do the MBA, and you're also getting a job which is 35 to 40 lakhs. So it's a 1-to-1. That's
Hmm.
why we are able to pay back the loans quicker. So the ROI works better. Now, if somebody's done a $300,000 MBA and they're coming back and doing a 35 lakh rupee job, which is loosely $50,000, you will take a lifetime to pay back the loan. So it will not make any sense. And that's only because in a top city of US to India, comparison is 1:7 PPP. Those places are 7 times more expensive on the living index in terms of rents, in terms of food, in terms of any general thing. So that's why it doesn't make any sense on those fronts. But in the long run, a lot of people from ISB are today serving as senior partners with McKinsey in Boston, or maybe uh, working with Microsoft and making about $500,000 in the US. And for them, the ROI factor plays in really beautifully because you've only spent about $50,000, and maybe in about 10 years, you've reached the salary point of about $500,000. So that's why on anybody who's earning in INR, ISB makes a lot more sense.
Okay. Okay.
True.
Thank you.
Sure. Nisha, please go ahead.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hi, thanks for doing this session. I have a particular, very niche question. So, a bit about my background. I pursued English literature from Delhi University, did my 1 year course in public relations and corporate communications from Xavier's Bombay. Now, I have been working in the field of public relations and marketing communication with India's leading crypto startup.
Mhm.
While I'm definitely willing to apply to ISB
Mhm.
in the next year, I
Mhm.
had a doubt, and I'm directing this question to Abhinav if he can
Mhm.
share his perspective. Because I have an understanding of Indian consumers, it's easy for me to draft strategies and work on the lines of the marketing that we want to do and PR that we want to do for a brand that I'm working for. Does it create a barrier if I apply in, let's say, in abroad and I don't have the understanding of the nuances of the culture there? Is it like acts like a barrier? Because I think it does, but I'm not sure. So if
For all these digital businesses like crypto, etc., it is very international. So it's not like selling soap where the consumer behavior changes. Crypto is quite there and similar around the world. Number one. Number two, if in case you're coming to ISB, as I mentioned time and again, there are both the perspectives that are taught. So there are professors like, say, somebody like Professor Divya Shashadri, who will do more of these Indian uh, case studies, and there are these more American professors coming in who are going to tell you the most American perspective about it and do the typical HBR cases and IV cases. So you will build both the perspectives out here at ISB. And to your question, particularly in crypto and block 3 and all these things, doesn't matter at all actually.
All right. Thanks so much.
Siddhant?
Yeah, hi Amit, hi everyone. I'll just have two specific questions. So I'll just give you a brief about my background. So I have around 7 years of work ex. I've worked across consulting to political consultant for the state elections to right now I was working as a like in the founder's office leadership in a leading startup in India, right? So now that I have 7 years of work ex, I was thinking of taking some time off and doing my MBA. But just wanted to know that how will that I was interested in ISB and that's why I'm here. But I was just thinking from a class fitment point of view, both like in general fitment and also from a job standpoint, because I would want to get into roles which kind of justify my previous work experience. So in these two things, like I was actually, to be honest, confused between ISB or maybe applying abroad and all of that. So if you could shed some light, because this would help.
Sure. So public policy is one of the specializations which we offer. I think that's something which you might want to look at. But I let Sushmita and Abhinav also give their perspectives from the batch point of view because they've been part of cohorts, and I'm sure there will be people with your background expertise in the cohort who've gone on to get decent careers or start their careers from ISB. Sushmita, any take on Siddhant's question?
Yeah, you really come with a very good amount of experience, which most people want to get post MBA. I have recently had a similar discussion with one of my friends in my circle who is in same position as you. So a couple of things here. Yes, fitment point of view, that's not a concern at all because you have various work ex related folks coming from different years of experience and different backgrounds. So you would definitely not feel out of place in the batch. There will definitely be learning, even if they are younger to us or seniors to us. We have learnings from everyone. And secondly, because you have already got good amount of experience and definitely your expectations would be on similar lines in whatever role that you want to get
Yeah,
into post
exactly.
ISP.
Yes,
So
exactly.
here you will have to really make a decision for yourself, considering the factors what are important to you. See, when you come to MBA, firstly, like I already mentioned, yes, different people have different priorities depending on the phase of life they are in. While placements and pay is really important, if you want to consider other aspects as well, and if you have really other goals for long term, and if you see that MBA is definitely going to add value to you, either professionally to grow in your career or in your learnings as well. That is one you have to consider. And secondly, coming to pay, see, yes, you will definitely have options coming for different roles, but then it's not going to be 100% guarantee that you would definitely back that role. See, we have to be realistic when making that decision.
Yeah, fair,
So
fair.
how much you're willing to compromise on your pay if you unfortunately, like God forbid, if you don't land in a job that you want to really land in.
Understood.
Uh, so that a decision you can take for yourself if you know what your goals exactly are and why you want to pursue MBA. So in what is it you are expecting out of MBA first? Then you would be satisfied with whatever the outcome is once you join. In that way,
Understood.
you can consider these
This
factors.
was really helpful. I have a follow-up question. Can I ask? Is that?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
So I think this was really helpful. So one follow-up question that I had was I was interested in exploring consulting as a career choice. So just wanted to know that, like, based on my discussions, I've spoken to a lot of ISB alums and in general that after a certain years of experience, I mean, consulting can can become like a little hard to get. That is one. And the second thing is, even if you get, you might have to start from an entry level and they may not be just do justice to the years of experience that you have. So I just wanted your candid opinion on these two things. Like,
Mhm.
firstly, is it
Yeah.
attainable? And secondly, yeah,
Whatever you heard, that is not applicable to everyone. I wouldn't say that's not a general statement to be made where your years of experience earlier wouldn't count. It's not right. Because you can get into consulting at any years of experience, except I think it's 1, 2. Unless someone has really lower end of experience, consulting usually looks like for 3 to 3+ years of experience. At least the top consulting firms, if you want to really get into them. Because my very senior from my college who comes with a similar experience as mine, who has had 6 years of experience when he joined ISB in my batch. But then he got into BCG and he did not get into an entry role, he got into senior consultant role. So
Oh, okay.
and my friend who was in my same batch, as the same experience as mine, 4 years of experience, he got two offers. He got senior consultant and consultant. He was left to choose which one you want to, because he was not, he really didn't want so much stress coming up, because he didn't know how consulting is going to be there. He chose not to take senior consultant and he took consultant option. See, even for 4 years, he got that. So it depends on your experience, what you had before, not in number of years alone. While it matters, like I said, if it is 3+, if you have really the skill set, you will get the role which you deserve.
Understood. I think okay, cool. This was really helpful.
Right.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Smita, for answering that. Vibha, do you have any question to ask?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I didn't lower my hand. Let me
I
know.
thought so, yeah. Sure. So with that, we have run out of the questions. There are no more questions, it seems. I'll look at a few questions in the chat and we'll try and answer them. In the meantime, I think Pallavi is again raised a question. We'll come back to you. Raise your hand. I will come back to you. Uh, there are no questions in the chat as well. So Pallavi, you can go ahead and ask your question now.
Hi. Hi again. My question has to do more with international placements. I'm sure people, I mean, I get what Abhinav was trying to say, when it comes to paper, living cost outside of India and in India, there's a big difference, right? You're going to face that. But sometimes people just want to move out and live their life, their whole life over there for whatever reasons. And there are other reasons as well. So my question is, what is the case of international placement at ISB? How many do we get? How many people do choose international placement? Anything about that, I would say.
Yeah. So there have been cases, of course, where people have directly joined in internationally. Last year, one of my friend joined this health tech startup in US where she's making a close to about $300,000. And for her, again, it's a great deal. Uh, and apart from that, a lot of people have gone to Europe and in sales roles with tech companies. So there are those cases, and there are more cases to this where people have chosen an Indian company, worked for 2 years, showed interest of wanting to go out, especially with say Google and Microsoft and Amazon. All these big tech companies will, if you're good, they will eventually send you to the headquarters in the US, or I mean, if the headquarters are elsewhere as well. So those kind of things are very, very common. But and apart from this, if you're asking about going to the US and studying and then getting a job there, you should go and read about the policies that are running around Indian immigrants and other immigrants and STEM courses, etc. Then you'll realize why it's probably not the best time to probably want to go abroad.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Abhinav. There's another question for you from Payal. And she says, I'm currently working as a PR consultant with Ad Factors. I'll be finishing my experience of 2 years in May 2024, which is when I want to start studying for GMAT. I really want to transition to marketing and eventually make a career in that field. Is 2 years of experience really enough with the kind of cohort ISB attracts? What can I do to make my profile and application more impressive, and especially for the marketing side of things?
So yeah, typically for marketing, I personally feel that sometimes people with no experience are also equally good. Sometimes people with 20 years of experience are good. So it totally depends on the kind of insights you bring on the table in marketing. Because marketing is all about insights about consumers, and sometimes fresher guys will have better marketing insights. And if you're somebody who's working in the PR space, you have interacted with marketing enough to understand the space a little superficially. I would suggest go a little bit into the depth. In today's time, try and study about the AI aspects of marketing and how target marketing happens, and how the marketing funnels have changed from the conventional marketing to right now. And if you pick up a little bit of learnings around that, you'll understand the classes that happen at ISB much more. If in case you make the admission with your experience and a decent GMAT score, you have a very good chance.
Thanks for the Anubhav and and that brings us to the end of this session as there are no more questions to be answered. Before we leave, any final thoughts from Abhinav and Sushmita for the candidates who apply to apply this year and answer the call? Abhinav, how about you? Go first.
Yeah, so my take on this, of course, because I was leading the policy club and worked very closely with the European Union and my dad for some policy work. I realized that there are a lot of challenges in going abroad, and I mean, you don't want to see them. I've lived in the US for 1 year. I've lived in London for about 1.5 year, and it's more a pain than anything, even if you're getting slightly more money. And in the long run, if you look at people dollar to dollar, the CEOs in this country are in dollars earning the same money as CEOs abroad, if at the same level, not talking about big tech where a different work level exists in the US. So considering all those factors for right now, India is a great option. But in case if you are very fixated and you're sure that you want to live abroad only and you want to put your life on that fate, then you can try out. I did not mention before that typically an H-1B visa is also required after the 3 years of STEM right now, where the intake rates for Indians are about 53%. One H-1B visa runs for 6 years. After 6 years, you have to apply again. Another time, 53%. So the chances that you will sustain in the US for more than 3 years is actually 25%. Mota mota. So if it's 25%, it's like a roll of a die where you are putting your life at stake in wanting to go abroad. I have a very strong opinion on this because I've done a lot of research for myself around this, and is why I personally feel that being in India, it's not just about ISB, is a better option.
Sure. Sushmita, how about you?
Yeah, I want to leave people to think over whatever it is, stating few factors that they can consider. I would suggest anybody to choose whatever decision that they want to take, think long term, not just short term. While right now you might think it's only just an MBA program or what matters, it might not be the same that you want 2 years or 5 years down the line. While we can't have 100% clarity, but it's really important to think long term. What matters to you? Is it all about pay or is it not all about pay? That itself will create a lot of difference in what is important to us, what is not important. I say this because it's sometimes it's not just about pay, and while you get it as a byproduct, I have chosen to stay back in India while my brother pursued MBA from foreign. So he is currently right now in US, just recently graduated. And I've seen the kind of difference, lifestyle, whatever it is there. Currently, the market is really not that great, but it's definitely not going to stay the same. If you want to continue staying in US or if you want to come back to India and why you want to pursue MBA, why you want to go there, I say again, come back to fundamentals. Think for yourself why you want to do MBA and where you want to stay in your career, which will really help you to make better decision and don't just be blinded by one factor. And secondly, talk to as many people as possible. You will get real advice from people who are actually in that situation, who has seen it and gone through it. And last point, while it's specifically relevant to placements, what I would say is like in if you go to foreign-based schools now, yes, the cost of MBA and the expenses have also increased, and the interest rates have also increased. The education loan, whatever you take, the rates keep changing with the market. And third, the salaries have decreased, which is really a bad thing. So you will have to stay at least for 4 or 5 years, I would say, decent amount of time to repay or at least make justice to your whatever you spent. And then you can choose either to continue or come back or whatever lifestyle that you would be seeking. And there is no one fit solution to everyone's case. So do your research and see what's applicable to you and be clear with fundamentals. That would be my suggestion.
Great, thanks. Thanks both Abhinav and Shmita, for taking time out from your busy schedules, and being part of this session to clear the doubts of the candidates. I'm sure the audience today has got great insights from this discussion. And thank you once again, audience, for being part of this session. and look forward to having you in future sessions as well. And wish you all the very best for your applications in round 3 or whenever you're applying next. Once again, thank you, Sushmita. Thank you, Abhinav, for taking your time out and being part of this session.
Thank you, Amit. It's a pleasure being here, and I'm glad this could be of help to whoever is listening to this. All the best to candidates, and I would take leave. Thank you.